Ah, Loki, my old nemesis.
You don't like Loki?
Okay, so funny story. I started playing FAF or FA on Steam. And so after many hours invested and rising up through the ranks and getting quite good versus the people who are on Steam, which should tell you something about the relative skill level, um, I decided to take up someone's request and come over to the FAF client because they're like, oh, you should come over here. It's so much better, blah, blah, blah. So I did. And then I played my first few games and went to minus 500 rank and started to climb back a little bit after getting used to the new meta. And someone was like, oh, you need to try ladder. So I queue up on ladder, and what would happen? But Loki pops up, a map that I have never seen or played on or had anything to do with. And I got absolutely thrashed to within an inch of my life on this map. Had no idea what to do. And from there, for ages and ages, I just could not cope with the idea of playing on Loki because I was so traumatized from my first ladder experience. And then finally, I just bit the bullet and played it 2 or 3 times in a row and finally won a game on it. Now I'm fine. End of story.
I'm glad you recovered from your trauma. Loki is such a nice map.
Oh, it took time and some serious therapy, but it was okay.
Take a look at ZLO's build order. I find it highly interesting. He's going for 3 power generators second land. That's probably the lowest power second land you can get on this map. He's going to get the tree reclaim from the jungle on the right to afford it.
And so he's going for extra land spam instead of air. Yes, specifically exactly. Mech Marine spam.
Like, Loki is just a map that invites you to go for a low power build, and you can either go for a 4 power generator second air bomber first, or you can go for the 5 power generator fighter first in anticipation of the enemy bomber. You can go for the 3 power generator second land, and you can also go for a 5 power generator second air that opens first tank, which you hover over the pond at the top left side for ZLO, or at the bottom right side for 27. And that's a strong Aeon opening. So very like large array of map specific openings you can use here, and most of them involve low power, or actually all of them, all thanks to the jungle.
Yes, those tree clumps that are getting reclaimed, a lot of people don't, or they may realize that there's mass and power in them, but they underestimate it. It's 10 mass and 100 power per clump. So you can build a lot of early stuff off of that much power reclaim. Pardon me, just typing a little something in the chat. So both of these players went for 2 engineers. Attack moved out to go and get these reclaim.
That's pretty standard.
Yeah, the attack move order, you alt right click from the land factory. The engineer immediately goes out to that spot, sits still, and reclaims in a huge ring around it. It's kind of, I don't know if it's actually a bug or like a break in the game, but it's commonly known and used. So you definitely need to take advantage of it because engineers can reclaim much more efficiently. As well, you can drag that attack move order around to move the engineer, but preserve the larger radius reclaim that it's capable of. I think ZLO decided that maybe perhaps the lab rush was not as good an idea on this map because he has shifted to tanks.
Actually, great idea, but yes, on this map you probably don't want to keep building labs because this map is kind of choke pointish. And having the range advantage on the tanks compared to the labs is just going to be a lot better.
Yes, what I kind of expected was for the Mech Marines to pour around the outside, come into the home plateau, and then go up around the mountain to skirt the ACU and into the back to kill off the engineers that were reclaiming power and to try to deny that Hydro in the rear. I think that would have worked out well, but...
I think travel time on this map is too high to make it work. I would not advise to do it.
Maybe.
Like, the most important expansions are the Hydra expansion, not necessarily because of the Hydra itself, but rather because of the trees there. And the second most important expansion is the 3 mass extractor expansion above or below your base. This is where all the mass is on Loki, and you really want to prioritize it. I generally recommend everybody to send 2 engineers into the Hydro expansion and 2 engineers into the 3 mass extractor expansion, and only engineer number 5 after some tanks would go for the 2 mass extractors on top or below your base next to the water. Because you can see what's happening here. The first light assault pod from ZLO took out the engineer building the 3 max expansion. Now there is a follow-up tank killing it again, and a bomber is hunting the Hydro expansion. So if 27 went for a low power build, which is kind of standard because you want to exploit the trees, then he'd power stall. But he didn't do it, he went for a high power build. And now he's probably going to start mass stalling because he's lacking the 3 mass extractor expansion.
We now have hover bombing. That's never a good thing. Killing off 4 engineers, and they're going to get this group of P-gens as well. Excellent micro from ZLO.
Yeah.
Using that bomber to the max potential.
ZLO really has to take out the engineer building the 3 max expansion. I'm not sure if he's aware of it, but another engineer made it there. The fighter is probably going to spot it.
This is kind of funny up here. There's actually scouts in range. There, now we got movement. That engineer just about reclaimed the boulder, and now the top expansion is going to be lost as low as well. Wow, 27 has actually got a leg up on expansions.
And ZLO lost the bomber before killing the engineer, so 27 can probably eco now.
He's actually got his commander up in the front position. If he gets up in there before that point defense finishes, he might actually have a chance at knocking out the expansion as well. He may lock ZLO down.
Why is he doing this? Why?
Why not?
That's such risky ICU placement. It's going to take your own units to arrive there so much longer than the units of the opponent. And you really have to send your entire stream of units into this expansion if you want to contest it with the ICU. I don't recommend it, especially against ZLO, who can just go T2 air and ghetto snipe the opponent.
Yes, that is accurate, but it does look like he is pushing most of his units over to that side. The point defense is the thing that's worrying me most right now. Although, yeah, he's going to kill it off before that engineer can finish it.
Well, 27 has a map control advantage, so he could just, you know, not go for this risky ICU placement and kind of out-eco, out-spam, out-scale ZLO in the long run. I don't know why he's risking so much, because ZLO is bringing his ICU down, he is bringing his units down and making sure they don't get killed by the units of the opponent. He's going to make sure he doesn't run into the ICU, and then he can just swarm 27's ICU. So it's quite likely.
Believe, man. You gotta believe harder.
Well, I am believing. I'm believing in 27's map control and how he managed to retain the expansion with the 3 mass extractors. But I just don't believe he should be even more greedy than that. Because he
is backing up, so I think everything will turn out okay.
Hopefully.
But yeah, that was a pretty hard push. ZLO has got 5 land factories online as opposed to only 4 for blue, although there is a 5th up in the bottom expansion, so can't discount that extra build power. I think air is more of a problem right now because air is pretty heavily in ZLO's control.
Both players are stalling hard. ZLO has a mass stall, which is easier to address thanks to reclaim, and because ZLO has the 3 mass extractor expansion, it's just a matter of time until an engineer gets there. And 27 is power stalling a lot. He's spending twice as much power as he has.
That's not good at all. One other thing to consider on an air win like this, you might think, oh, well, he's got air, so I just need to build T1 anti-air and then I can come back. The problem is that for every anti-air you're building, you're not building a tank. So if your opponent has the air win and they're spamming air to maintain that air win, then they don't need anti-air in their forces to a certain degree. So then you're going to end up outnumbered in the tank count. And actually, this is not looking too terribly fantastic because now 27 is getting pushed over to the side by an ACU and tanks cut off from his own units.
Yes, 27 is dead. He won't make it to the water in time. The ACU placement was just not good. I was very surprised that he managed to hold the expansion with the 3 mexes, even though ZLO prioritized the raid into this expansion so hard. But yeah, 27 kind of just overextended by using this ACU placement to magnify his
Threw it to a
advantage
certain
even
degree.
more. He should have just
Yeah.
played more conservatively after gaining his expansion and also getting the 3 Massing Structure expansion on the hill. So he did have the map control lead, but he's just throwing it away.
Yes, he was in
sad
a
to see.
very, very good spot, but
Yeah, absolutely.
in the end, it doesn't even matter. But I thought I was good. Yeah, you had the game. I think it would have come down to whether or not ZLO could use superior game experience in order to think of a way out of that situation. Because you're right, 27 had overwhelming map control and mass advantage. If he could have just followed through with it, not overextended.